It's 2015, and a guy in the UK ends up with a crashed Audi TT. Instead of going through insurance and moving on, he decides to fix it himself. Along the way, he starts filming the process and uploading it to YouTube. At the time, it wasn't some grand plan. It was just a damaged car, a camera, and something he wanted to try. But that small decision ended up setting everything in motion for Matt Armstrong. People started watching, and more importantly, they kept coming back. As he worked through that first rebuild, he naturally fell into a style that made the videos feel different from anything else on the platform. The idea was straightforward. Take a car that looks beyond saving, rebuild it step by step, and show the full process without skipping the difficult parts. That meant delays, wrong parts, and moments where things didn't go as planned. He didn't cut those out. And that honesty made a big difference. When the car finally came back together, it felt earned rather than staged. The audience grew with the project, and that momentum pushed him toward bigger and more ambitious builds. But as the cars got more impressive, something else started to change too. Modern supercars are fundamentally different from older machines. They're built around software, sensors, and interconnected systems that control almost everything. After a serious crash, many of these cars enter a locked or protected state that's nearly impossible to reverse without direct manufacturer involvement. So even when the physical repair is done properly, the car can still refuse to function. That's where a completely new kind of challenge appears, one that goes beyond tools and skill and starts bumping up against access and control. That tension runs through every major build we're going to cover today. Each one shows a different side of it, and together they explain how Matt Armstrong's channel grew into something far bigger than just car rebuilds. The build that sits at the top of the list does so for one simple reason: the car itself. The Bugatti Chiron Per Sport isn't a normal supercar. Only 60 were ever made, and it was built as a more aggressive, track-focused version of an already rare machine. At around €3 million, once a car like this gets crashed, everything around it changes. The stakes go up, the attention goes up, and suddenly everyone on the internet becomes a certified expert on what should or shouldn't be done. What really pushed this build into the spotlight was how the story spread. The car was linked to influencer Alex Gonzalez, and once the idea of repairing it outside official Bugatti channels entered the conversation, things escalated fast. Bugatti stepped in with concerns around safety and liability, which makes sense, because this isn't a car you fix like a Corolla in your garage. From that point, the rebuild started feeling less like a project and more like a live, ongoing debate playing out in public. Then came the moment that changed everything. After months of work, the car finally started and moved under its own power. That's where the whole conversation shifted. Before that moment, most people were focused on whether the rebuild should even be attempted. After it, the focus moved to what comes next, because now it was clear the rebuild was actually working. The reactions split cleanly down the middle. Some viewers are fully behind it and love the fact that someone just went ahead and did it anyway. Others are more cautious, asking how complete a rebuild like this can really be without full factory support. The same questions keep circling: parts access, software locks, whether the car will ever be truly finished or just mostly finished. What's left now is proving the car can return to normal use. Not just running, but everything working properly, all systems behaving, and the car being driven without a warning light appearing every 5 seconds. That uncertainty is exactly why people are still watching. If the Bugatti build is an engineering challenge taken to the extreme, the Rolls-Royce Wraith sits on the other end of the spectrum. This one is less about the mechanical complexity and more about the story wrapped around the car. It already had attention before Matt even touched it. In September 2023, Marcus Rashford was involved in a late-night crash after returning from a match. He was fine, but the car wasn't. It was written off, sent to auction, and picked up by Matt to bring back. That setup alone changes how the rebuild feels. It doesn't feel like fixing a car. It feels like bringing something back that shouldn't have been lost. And this isn't just any Wraith either. It's a full Mansory build, which means it was already something special before the crash. The kind of car people recognize immediately. So when Matt buys it at auction, the rebuild doesn't just begin. It picks up a story that was already in motion. As the project develops, the costs and complications stack up fast. Then something unexpected happens. Rashford's side gets involved, offering help with parts and information. That moment changes the tone of the entire project. It stops feeling like someone rebuilding a celebrity car from the outside and starts feeling like the story is continuing from both ends at the same time. Then it goes one step further. Mansouri gets involved and asks for the car to be brought back to them for finishing touches. So now the car is back in the hands of the people who originally built it, but arriving under completely different circumstances. It's the same workshop, but a completely different journey. That moment stands out because it feels like the project has come full circle, even if the road to get there was anything but straightforward. The reaction to this build is different from the others too. People aren't really debating whether it should be done. They're watching to see how far it can go. There's something about seeing a written-off luxury car come back that keeps people hooked, especially when there's already a real story attached to it. Compared to the hypercars, the crashed-into-a-house BMW M3 feels a lot more grounded, and that's exactly why it still earns its place on the list. The G80 M3 isn't just a fast sedan you fix and move on from. It's packed with electronics and interconnected systems, all working together. When something like this gets seriously damaged, you're not just replacing parts. You're trying to get the whole thing to behave like nothing ever happened. And that's harder than it sounds. The way this build starts is very on-brand for Matt. He picks up a wrecked M3 that reportedly drove into a house, and from the first look, it's clear this isn't going to be simple. The damage is serious, and there's this extra layer of curiosity because nobody's quite sure how the crash happened in the first place. The reactions to this one are more mixed. Because it's not a rare hypercar, some people look at it and question whether the rebuild even makes sense given the salvage history. Others don't care about that side at all. They're watching for the process, the problem solving, and to see how far it can go. That back and forth shows up constantly in the comments. In the bigger picture, this build sits in the middle of the channel's story. It bridges the gap between the earlier, simpler projects and the high-end builds that came after. It proves the format still works even when the car is more modern and complicated. And unlike some of the bigger builds that are still ongoing, this one has a clear start and finish, which makes it feel unusually satisfying. If you want the clearest example of a rebuild turning into a software problem, the Revuelto is it. To understand why this one got so much attention, you have to look at what Lamborghini actually built here. The Revuelto is their first V12 hybrid, pushing over 1,000 horsepower by combining a new engine with 3 electric motors. But the important part isn't the power. It's how everything is connected. This is not a car you simply repair and start again. After a crash, it's designed to protect itself, and that can mean locking itself down completely. The build starts the way a lot of Matt's projects do. He picks up a heavily damaged Revuelto for well below its original value, and on paper it looks like another big rebuild. But very quickly, it turns into something else entirely. The car doesn't just need fixing. It refuses to come back to life. And that's where the project changes shape, because now the challenge isn't mechanical. It's getting past a system that simply doesn't want to reset. What makes this even more frustrating is that the core problem is invisible. The physical damage can be repaired, but the car's locked state can't be cleared without manufacturer-level access. So even when the work looks complete from the outside, the car can still be sitting there doing nothing. That's a difficult thing to explain to an audience expecting a big reveal at the end. The reactions reflect that frustration. Some people respect the transparency and appreciate that Matt shows everything honestly, including the parts where nothing works. Others find it hard to watch a car that looks finished but is still blocked by software. And the same question surfaces again and again. What happens when you can fix everything physically but still can't use what you own? That question is what makes the Revuelto the most important build on this list. It points directly at where things are heading. Future rebuilds won't just depend on tools and mechanical skill. They'll depend on access, permissions, and whether manufacturers allow certain things to happen at all. And when you compare any of that to where it all started, a crashed Audi TT, a camera, and a guy who just wanted to see if he could fix it, the contrast is enormous. That's what makes the channel work. The cars got bigger, the problems got harder, and the stakes went up at every level. But the approach never really changed. Don't hide the setbacks. Let the audience follow along for real. By early 2026, the comment sections around Matt's biggest builds have become their own storylines. The same themes come up across every project: access, trust, and what happens next. Access, because the Bugatti and Revuelto builds made clear just how restricted modern cars can be. From parts and VIN controls to software locks that standard tools can't touch. A lot of the discussion now isn't really about fixing damage. It's about whether you're even allowed to. Trust, because people stick with Matt precisely because he shows the setbacks. Mistakes aren't hidden, and that makes every result feel real. When the builds get controversial, that transparency is what holds the audience together. And what comes next? Because these builds show that finding a wreck isn't the hard part anymore. Finishing it in a way that feels genuinely complete is. Getting a car to run is one thing. Getting it fully usable is another. And that gap is only going to grow as cars get more complex and manufacturers tighten their grip on what can and can't be done outside their own workshops. The Revuelto makes that clearer than anything else. Even after all the work, even after everything looks done, the biggest challenge can still be convincing the car that it's ready to go again.